So this last video, I'm not going to do the coding for you, but I'm going to kind of sketch it out and give you some hints and hopefully give you ideas of where to look in the code to make the mods. Give me just a second. Let's get my code up here. Let's do a screen share. All right, so we left this off. I think what we're at here is we've got this. We've got our pause button. Maybe you've noticed that hitting the pause button screws up the plot. That's okay. Just ignore that for right now. We'll deal with that another lifetime. All right, so what we want to do now is be able to add a second pulse and see what's happening. So let's walk through the code and kind of think about the things that might need to change. Obviously, you're going to need to have a second amplitude and wavelength. We'll get to that. You might need a second omega, but remember, you won't need a second V. The cosmetic stuff, we're just drawing the rope. You're probably going to have a second one of these, right, to center the position for the wave pulse the other side, maybe at X max perhaps, so that they can cross. All right. The graph, we don't need anything new there. This stuff, we don't need anything new there. Building the rope, we don't need anything new there. But initializing the wave pulses, I want you to think this is kind of the key physics part. After all this work, we're actually going to do a little physics. This is all this information for the first pulse. You're probably going to make a second pulse and then think. We know the superposition principle. Y total should equal Y1 plus Y2. So hopefully you can figure out how to make a second pulse and have the two add together to get the total position on the string. Now, keep in mind, whatever you do here for initializing them, you also need to do down in the while loop as well. And you're going to have to think about the different omegas. And a couple of last things on minus signs. So let me clear this out real quick. Think, if you wanted your pulse to be upside down, you could flip the, now, okay, this would seem a little weird, but notice this makes your pulse upside down. So that's one thing you could do. You could experiment by trying different values of lambda. Well, let's make it dramatic. Right? So you could see that a longer wavelength makes a wider pulse and things like that. And you could try more or less tension. Right? If we have less tension, you could think, what is that going to do? I'll let you play around with this and figure that out. So hopefully, let me go into there. Let me get this back to where I had it so I don't forget. So again, you can change the parameters and add parameters as necessary. You could use the superposition principle here. And then again, down in the while loop, you're going to have to think carefully. You're going to need to use the superposition principle there. But I don't think you're going to have to change any of this plotting junk, right? So, and hopefully then you can experiment and maybe even learn a little physics. That would be kind of cool. Um, all right. And then if you're really crazy, you could go look at the FET, uh, a string wave FET, and see that you're kind of getting some of the pieces of that put together. And then you could appreciate all the work that they did. And yeah, all right. Let's call that good.